We're surrounded by, as you can see from these images, some stunning views and 3 iconic images of East Lothian. So we have the Bass Rock, we have Tintagel Castle, and we have North Bennett Law. Who are we? So, as I said, I'm Jo McNichol, and together with my husband, Stuart McNichol, we live at Castleton Farm. My husband manages the farm day to day, and is a partner with his father-in-law in the business. He is co-director with me at Drift, and there is a slight joke, and he does assist with all maintenance, having acquired the name head of maintenance and gardens at one stage, but he does do quite a bit more than that. But he also helps with all the maintenance around our events business too. I myself came out of teaching in 2012, mainly to look after our 2 children, and designate my time to them. And within about a year of that, I can't sit on my hands ever. So we started Castleton Events, which I'll talk about a little bit more later on. And I am also a co-director of Drift. And then obviously I mentioned the Agritourism Destination Leader. So a little bit about our farm. So as I say, we're Castleton Farm. Stuart's grandfather actually leased the farm back in 1908, and he eventually bought it in 1921. So we're heading for, well, we are in our centenary year, having fully owned the farm. Be great if we can have a party around that, but you know, you never know. Stuart's father took over the farm in the 1970s, and he actually diversified quite quickly into eggs, taking on 22,000 chickens or something ridiculous along those lines, and then stopped that when the salmonella outbreak hit. Stuart now manages the day-to-day running whilst maintaining the partnership within the farm with his dad. It's a 430-acre farm, most with all arable. Really, we have spring barley, winter wheat, winter beans, and a couple of years ago, Stuart decided to enter into the agri-environmental scheme. So we have fields of green manure growing, which according to him made more money than the barley last year, which was interesting. And as you can see from some of these pictures, we also grow and are going to grow again this year sunflowers, which brightens up the farm a bit. It's a very much a family business. You'll see my 2 children in the bottom here. It looks like Tommy's laying that eco grid all on his own, but there were adults present. He wasn't manning the forklift too. And there's Amy there helping to pick the sunflowers. So Drift. I'm starting with Drift, even though this was one of our second agritourism businesses. Back in about 2008, 2009, we actually also refurbished and ran a farm cottage for a short space of time. The children came along, it became quite a lot to manage, and we decided to turn that into a let rather than a holiday let. But prior to that, Stuart's mum ran holiday cottages very successfully in the 80s. Drift for us though was our real big entry, I suppose, into agritourism as a couple. We opened the doors in 2018, a very hot summer. Having planned to open them in April, we were opened in June. I suppose different building issues kept us back. However, I have to mention it, and I know is on this call, but we couldn't have done it without the help of our leader funding, which was so valuable in helping us with the cost of getting there. It was actually our 4th project. We had planned, or we had looked into farm shops with cafes attached to them, except that we realised that living on an arable farm where all the grain went for booze, that actually we'd be creating more of an off license than we would a farm shop. So we reckon that perhaps wasn't the way to go, and we decided to start off very humbly with coffee and cake. We knew after the other ideas that they'd all been a bit too big, so we felt we needed to start off small here. Some people might say 40 covers isn't all that small, but the offering we had was small, and slowly but surely over the last 3 years, we have grown this business, in part, I would say, to becoming the East monitor farmers for the Agritourism project run by Scottish Enterprise. That's been a massive contributor for us in helping us to grow our business. We're just putting in our third kitchen in 3 years. In fact, I say third, fourth, because we're putting in a satellite kitchen on the farm because our baking element has grown so much. We need more space. And we have just employed 3 chefs to come, starting all in the next week or so, to expand our menu. It was a direct vision to really involve and work with as much Scottish produce as we possibly could. And having listened to various different talks on other restaurateurs, other agritourism businesses, I sat Stuart down and I said, right, that's it. We have got to do something a little bit more for our business. And along came Lewis, our head chef, with a Scottish menu with a Scandinavian twist. And we're hoping to be open the inside at the beginning of June. So it's really grown from strength to strength. And I can't leave this page without bringing in our takeaway trailer. We converted a St. Clair and Rice horse box, which is now our takeaway trailer, and it sits outside Drift. And actually, it's been our lifesaver during COVID. It takes more than the inside can at the moment because of our reduced seating. But it again, we're managing to offer hot food out of it. We run our bacon and Drift rolls from our kitchen. We have sausage rolls within it and all our cakes. And it became a bit of a lifeline for some of our regular customers during lockdown as well. Castleton Events. Castleton Events started, well, kind of started in 2012 when Stuart said, right, that's it. I've sown grass seed. We're going to start the events business. So I said, right, okay, lovely. And we invited our first couple onto the farm who partied into the very, very early hours of the Sunday morning. My poor in-laws needed ear defenders to cope with the bass beat going on. And after that, we decided no more. We really did need to control it a bit more. So in 2013, I took the business on as a sole trader. And since then, we've welcomed numerous couples, parties, different celebrations, including a very extravagant proposal on our Greenfield site, which at the moment we get everything in from marquees, toilets, caterers, catering tents, the works. And the tent goes up 2 days before. Part of the attraction to a lot of people is that they can have pretty much anything they would like within their budget. And then we had just helped them facilitate it. However, being part of the Agritourism Monster Farm, and again, never people to sit on our little hands, we now have plans to develop a more permanent space. It'll offer the same views as the ones you see here to Duntallan Castle, and it'll also have views to the Bass Rock. But the aim is for about 120 people, and we are at the moment undergoing plans, architectural plans for that, in the hope that we can start building that certainly within the next year or so. So it's been a very big roller coaster turn for us within agritourism, but really, really positive. And it's got me out of teaching, which I'm quite glad about, and into working in 2 businesses where I get to work with members of the public. I think we're up to about 30 employees now as well, all local, a lot doing SQAs. We've got 2 apprentices on the farm. Jack is a fabulous example because he is also an apprentice on the farm as well as at Drift as well. So he's a great agritourism story. So why join agritourism? Well, for me, undoubtedly, over the last, I'm sure Jenny and Pete will share these sentiments too, the support from the whole sector has been so valuable. And even going forward, we've got a great WhatsApp group set up. It's now been divided up a little bit too, so that we're in different sectors, which helps. So if you've got a question that you need answering, you can get onto your WhatsApp group and it pretty much gets answered pretty quickly. But it just provides you with a little bit of confidence behind the scenes instead of thinking, where on earth can I get the answer to that? Caroline mentioned there's the support from Visit Scotland as well, and helping to take our sector and drive our sector forwards has been absolutely incredible, as has the support from STA. And direct routes to government. I personally have asked Mr. Ewing a few questions and had them answered. I think having that link, and certainly getting to know your own MSP. I know Paul McLennan from East Lothian was going to be on this call. I think they're trying to vote Nicola Sturgeon back into Parliament again as First Minister this afternoon, but hopefully he'll jump on a bit later. But certainly those direct routes to government are a massive help, to know that you've got that support there too. And I know Caroline was kind of talking about this before she crashed out, but being part of Go Rural, again, all of these platforms to help promote your business, promote you. It depends how quickly you want to grow and where you want to take your business, but being part of a platform like Go Rural and knowing that it's there to attract more business for you, again, is a tremendous opportunity. And I know that there are two elements to that. So we've got the business to consumer and we've got the business to business as well. So, and I know that within the business to business, we have other people in other sectors to go to for support, whether that be accountants, lawyers, etc., depending on what you might need. So those are my main 4 reasons to join us. And that, I think I've raced through everything. We were given 10 minutes, so I think I'm under that, which hopefully is good. Again, I think we might be doing a questions section at the end. But if there are any questions, then I'm happy to answer them just now.
Thanks so much, Jo. I'm sorry I crashed out. The joys of rural broadband. Apologies to everybody. Thanks for your great talk. If you haven't been to Drift, I'd highly recommend that you go and pay Drift a visit. It's fantastic business, and what Jo and Stuart are doing there is just amazing progress that they've made, and it's great to be working with you as part of the Monitor Farm programme as well as a destination leader. So we'll now hand over to Jenny Cowan, just a wee bit further north from you. Jenny's.
Hello, I'm a complete Zoom idiot, so I'm trying to share my screen. One moment, please. I'll hopefully do it correctly. Can everyone see that? Hope so. Yes, good. I've done it. Yeah, this is. I'm not great at Zoom, so this is good. Firstly, it's great to see so many familiar faces, and lots of you I know and lots of you I don't know. For those that don't know me, I'm Jenny Cowan from Eastside. I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. I run a web design company with my partner, the Holiday Cottages with Mum, and I am at the moment a very bad trainee shepherdess running the farm with Mum and Dad. So to give you a short history and overview of Eastside, the family's owned and farmed Eastside since 1850, so effectively we've been custodians of the land for over 170 years. We still very much run it as a family farm, arguably doing too much of the work ourselves, between myself, Mum, Dad and Michael. Eastside is 3,000 acres. It's a hill sheep farm in the Pentland Hills Regional Park, just south of Edinburgh. We have 1,300 Scottish blackface on a hefted hill system, and if you don't know what that is, it's an ancient way of farming with little fencing, as the sheep instinctively know to stay on their home hill, and it was formed from hundreds of years of shepherding has formed that. So we have 7 main hefts on the farm at the moment. We conservation graze wildflower meadows for agri-environment schemes and our SSSI for native flora. We have some of the most popular hills with recreational users in the park. West Kip, which was one of the most iconic hills in the Pentlands, rises up just from behind the farmstead. We have a huge number of hill footpaths connecting our hills, which are very much on the urban fringe with the city of Edinburgh and some of the largest towns in Lothian. The picture you've got here is view from the East Kip down to Skull Law and beyond, and that's the main route. There's a Pentland Peak path that goes all the way along the tops. In 1996, Mum started our first agritourism diversification by building the first of our holiday cottages in the old 18th century farmyard. And as and when we could afford to, we would pay off the bank loan, develop the next one. So we've now got 3 in East Side farmyards, and each are quite quirky. They're quite different because they're all built in the old farmstead and have to kind of take account of the shape and layout of these things. Each have views out to the sheep pens or the stackyard, or butting onto the working sheepdog kennels. So basically it's very much the holiday element has always been very, very integrated with the tourist offering. 3 years ago, we added a 4th cottage, the Woodshed, which is pictured here. And it's a modern architect designed cabin, and that project was led by Michael and myself recently. The cottage views image at the bottom of the screen there is the view from one of the cottage bedrooms, and from the kitchen you look out at sheep eye level, so you occasionally open the curtains in the morning and find 100 sheep staring in the window at you, which is quite fun. So that, in a nutshell, is what we have. So wait one second, next screen. Agritourism, before I talk about our onward journey and what we're kind of planning, I want to say a bit more about agritourism and what it meant to me and how it's refocused our thoughts in the future. We are really at a kind of successional point in the business where my ideas are starting to feed into this amazing place that Mum and Dad and those before them have created. But the essence of agritourism to me is to create vibrant rural communities, resilient rural communities, and act as a bridge between a population which is becoming quite divorced from the land and how their food is produced, and us, the working farmers. As consumer-facing farmers, Caroline's always said, we should be always thinking about it as our job to rekindle this connection between the consumer and the food and the farmer. And I think, yeah, I'm totally sold on that idea. Agritourism here at East Side, I think, has the potential to give people a real and genuine sense of place, remove barriers, and tell a positive story of agriculture in Scotland. And I would just like to apologise for the East Side edit of the Agritourism cow, but I'm afraid that the sheep insisted, Caroline, they weren't impressed with the cow at all. So next, what we're doing. I like to think we're not afraid of change, and we have been changing significantly, inspired by so many people, and many of those are in this group. Having done the Rural Leadership Programme, which was Scottish Enterprise based, I really feel like Scottish agritourism is an extension of that. It's the learning journey has continued through workshops and discussions and that sort of thing. So on to what we're doing. So first, the first image and message is a bit of a pet obsession of mine. So many people, I think, go and visit and stay in a place without ever getting a real understanding of that place. And my aim is to create a better learning journey for our East Side guests, taking them through the meadows, identifying wild grasses, flowers, fungi, sheep viewing areas, learning about farming and seasonality, bird hides, epic views on self-guided walks. And I'm going to go through these each sort of one at a time, but really they're all these things are kind of melded together as one. Beautiful agritecture is the second one. So we're redesigning or rethinking about almost like master planning the way guests move around the farmsteading to better involve them in the working farm. We want to incorporate sheep viewing areas as part of our long-term phased building strategy so that guests can be part of the big gathers as all the ewes come off the hill. We want it to be a real experience without it ever feeling at all fake or theme parky. So phase one, we're building at the moment, we're doing 2 wee farm bothies and a pop-up farm shop. Organic Virgin was really inspired by Annabelle Scott, a member of the group, and we're almost through and can start selling organic lamb for the first time this autumn, which we're really excited about. So shout out to Annabelle. And this, along with conservation grazing and hefted farm management practices, need to become part of the East Side story. Storybook setting for selling our story. Again, inspired by the group, the Agritourism Monitor Farm, as one of their workshops. I think it was Scott Beers, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a workshop on storytelling, finding your story, interweaving history, how to keep the attention of guests, balance between the new and the known, and how everyone has a unique and worthy story to tell. And I really believe that developing our agri story, letting guests understand the processes, farm work, seasonality, and local flora and fauna will really improve their experience of East Side and sense of place. Wildlife Estates collaboration. So that's a group of land managers are getting together from the Pentlands to form a landscape scale wildlife plan. This again starts to feed into the story. We hope through this collaboration to be able to promote seasonal paths to protect ground nesting birds. We have like our fantastic red listed curlew merlin, lapwing and skylark that call East Side home in the breeding season. So to feed into that, another of my passions, and I'm going to start sounding like a nutter. This is the importance of public education on responsible access and responsible behaviour with dogs around sheep and especially ground nesting birds, which very much comes into this Wildlife Estates collaboration. During the lockdown, Pentlands saw an unprecedented access pressures with unfortunately many dog attacks on both wildlife and livestock. In response to that, Caroline set up an access subgroup within Agritourism, and through this we've been able to lobby politicians, get on Radio 4. Shona and Sheila did a great piece on national parks and the reopening of national parks and responsible access there, and our membership, Agritourism membership of the National Access Forum has been considered at the moment. Also the support offered by the group in really quite tricky times has been fantastic and is very much appreciated. And lastly, but certainly not least, is reconnecting produce and consumer. As part of phase 1 build that we're doing at the moment, we wanted to create a pop-up farm shop to sell our lamb and mutton in season. We plan to sell it to both the guests and passing hill walkers. This was definitely inspired by Sasha Grierson of Grierson Organic up near Perth. She did an amazing talk as part of the Monitor Farm programme, and her whole concept is this. you first take your farm tour out, you talk about the animals, you talk about the land, you talk about the wildlife, you go to the butchery, you admire the skill of the butcher, and then you gather around the farmhouse table to taste the end result. And for now, I think a pop-up shop selling our produce in season with the story in the landscape that it was grown in will probably do. And those who know me will also know that I'm a god-awful cook, so the whole cooking side of it is possibly best left to other people that are a lot better at it than I am. When I was running through it this morning, I've got another note. When I was running through it this morning, I suddenly thought I haven't actually kind of gone into how we're going to tell our story, and that's very much at the development stage at the moment. We're thinking, because of our web design background, it should be a kind of app, partly because it would be easy to update, so that seasonality could be taken into account, so that, you know, if the cuckoo arrived, you could instantly update that, rather than if it was any sort of paper form, it would take a while for all that to kind of feed through. We've got a brilliant illustrator that stays in the cottages a lot, who was a locally brought up but now lives in New York, and he has got a fantastic sense of humor. I think he would be perfect for the project. One of his examples of his work was, as a gift to mum and dad for staying in the cottages, he drew 3 pictures of sheep and then put them in clear glass bottles with a cork in the top, and called them sheep in bottles rather than ships in bottles. So that sort of thing, he's got a weird kind of take on the world, which I think is really fun. Finally, this is Scottish Agritourism. Why would you join? Firstly, I really have genuinely never stopped learning and being inspired by this group, even throughout lockdown when study trips were cancelled. I think Caroline was going to take a load of people off to Italy to look at agritourism, which they do it so well in that country. So in-person monitor farm meetings ceased, but the group kept on moving forward, and I think the downtime was used to develop ideas and build things. Joe, you know, who could have thought, right, that's it, you know, the cafe's closed, or it's so reduced in capacity, that's it, you know, she was off developing trailers, and, you know, there's so many examples of that. And what could have been perceived as a really rock bottom time, there was always positivity and ideas. Secondly, having a voice and getting it heard by the right people. I don't think I can thank Caroline, this group, enough for their support of the self-catering sector during the enforced closure. Together with Visit Scotland, the ASSC and STA, they got what can seem quite a small and isolated rural voices right into Scottish Parliament, making real changes. So the same can be said for her work with us in the Access Group, making sure some of the more harrowing aspects of lockdown with dog attacks that got the attention and press that they deserved as well. Putting yourself in a supportive environment. As a group, it definitely feels more like a collective, with everyone helping everyone else. The WhatsApp group offers advice on everything from lambing trouble through to B Corp accreditation, how much to charge film companies, licensing to alcohol, literally everything. I've got up, keeping up to date with COVID, helping us to find wildlife data for WES, and there's no silly questions, you know, everybody kind of mucks in and helps you out. The final point I wanted to make was joined up thinking, because I think the way Caroline's running Scottish Agritourism, it's all about the network and how we can promote and support each other through new consumer-facing website. And I'm really glad to be part of the whole scheme, and really look forward to seeing it grow. I'd also like to point out that this is the proper Agritourism logo and not the Eastside version with the sheep. So there you go, that's me done for the day.
Thanks so much, Jenny. Sorry, I'm like the appearing and disappearing host, so apologies, my internet has decided to play up this afternoon. So thank you so much, Jenny. It's lovely to hear from you, and I can't wait to visit your farm. Looks so stunning. I can't wait to come and see you and see yourself catering there as well. So our next speaker this afternoon is Pete Eccles, also from Mid Lothian. Pete and his wife Hayley run their business together. Pete will be able to tell you all about it just in a second, but Pete was the monitor farmer for QMS and has made huge strides forward in the business, but now has, well, I think you've been in agritourism for a little while with your cottage, but really developing that side of the business as well, and just fits in right with what we're doing with local produce and the whole food focus of agritourism. So welcome, Pete.
Thanks, Caroline. Just want to go on to share. I'm actually on a Zoom call. Can I just get you in a bit? Thanks. Sorry, I just had a wee interruption. Right, okay. Are we on? Is that appeared, everyone? Is that okay? Yeah. So thanks very much, Caroline, for having me on and for the introduction. Brilliant to hear from Joe and Jenny there. I think, you know, just to kick off, that's the reason I want to be a part, or more of a part of this sort of thing, is the inspiration you get from others. Just, you know, some fantastic information coming through there, and you can see the passion involved, and that's what you know it's all about. And I think, you know, getting inspiration from others is huge in helping us push on and realize our own dreams. So yeah, Sauchland Farm, we're just outside Edinburgh, 20 miles south, or 15 miles south, sorry, 20 minutes on the A68 in Mid Lothian. It's owned by the Callender family. It's approximately 850 acres of kind of grade 3 and 4 land. When I took over the farm business as a manager back in 2014, it was very much a traditional farming setup with Scotch mules, land inside, and some cows, 60 cows that calved kind of all year round. And yeah, there was very much a priority on quality of stock rather than efficiency and, you know, probably modernization. It was in need of some modernization. So this is our vision now, and it has been. We put this in place just at the start of the monitor program, which we became part of in 2000 and I want to say 16, which was, you know, a great initiative, and I got a lot out of it, and it helped me sort of steer the business to where it is today. So a wee bit about my background. Yeah, so I'm a local lad to here, just my family farm's 8 miles away. I did my degree in Edinburgh in agriculture, and then had a bit of a gap year where I travelled, and then I did some working on some friends' farms. I had a real interest in livestock more than the arable. My family farm is a small arable unit. Dad is still working at home, so there wasn't a full-time job for me. I had full of crazy ideas at the time, but I know I had to go and prove myself first. So I took on the job as a trainee agricultural consultant with SEC, and that was again another learning journey for me, working with some great people and learning about lots of great businesses and trying to support them throughout the borders. I was based in the Lauderdale region. So I did that for 2.5 years, and then the opportunity to come here and manage at Sauchland arose with the retirement of the former manager. So yeah, Richard Callender, the owner here, took a bit of a punt taking me on. Had no managerial experience. I've been obviously helping on farms, and had a small farm, a small collection of cows and sheep at home, but nothing, you know, just more pets than anything else. So yeah, it was a bit of a step up and a leap of faith from Richard, and certainly I set my stall out with a business plan and a kind of way forward, and I think that impressed him. And then it was all about just how do we get there. So the monitor farm, I suppose I'd been in the job a couple of years, and there'd been a lot of changes made, diversifying the business, not into tourism, but I can touch on that in the next slide. So yeah, you know, we've now up to 1,800 breeding ewes. We're just under 100 suckler cows. We've also got another finishing unit a few miles away. We'll be buying some extra stores to utilise the shed space, along with finishing our own cattle. I've set up a bit of a supplier group for not only our own beef meat boxes, but also we supply a couple of other outlets. We're now involved in an agri-environment scheme, which is something I'm really passionate about. I think it's a real strong story to be told about farming and working with the environment to enhance it and to enhance landscape and habitats, and really try and, again, it comes in with the storytelling about farming being a positive impact on the landscape. And you know, we've got lots of examples about how that's happening on our farm. We're very commercially focused in how we run our operations, but we're tying in agri-environment or environmental benefits as well, which is, I think, you know, as a real plus. There's a small amount of forestry. We've planted over 100,000 trees recently, and just to replenish some felled forestry, but also just other parts of the farm that we've identified as that's the best use. So we've joined up with neighbouring farms as well, and done some collaborative forestry work. So we're now into producing some pedigree stock for sale and use, and we've also had other people's stock on for rearing contracts. There's a Vineyard Business Centre, which I'm sitting in just now, which is 14 office lets, and that was set up before I arrived, but I've been very much involved in getting it busy again. It went through a very quiet time after the recession in 2007. And then we've got some storage units which I've been involved in setting up, and that's, you know, works away well. There's a lot of demand for that. Probably look to expand a wee bit there too. And then we've got some residential property and now a holiday cottage, which started winter last year. Unfortunately, we hit COVID at the wrong time, so we never had any the backing of any funding, but we just spent quite a bit of money on refurbishing the cottage. We're a wee bit fortunate that we had some sort of short-term stays during COVID, which helped us out a bit. So yeah, we're now, you know, delighted to see that is fully booked for most of the summer now. And then Lothian Larder, which is obviously it's a joint venture between myself and my wife and the owner here at Sauckland. So I'll go into these a bit more detail. These are all the businesses that I'm responsible for managing. The native and wild meat boxes is something I set up with my wife a few years ago. Probably when I don't know where we found the time, but it was something I've always enjoyed, is obviously both cooking and enjoying great produce, and beef and lamb are two of those my favorites. And I think we started off just by selling a bit back, you know, to family and friends, and the feedback was tremendous. And I think people could see the passion I had about it, and it was sort of just encouraged that I should look to. Well, I always felt like it was something to do, was to try and, you know, sell it wider afield. So we set up a website, and, you know, it's just sort of grown steadily from there. It all starts with the, you know, produce that we produce, and, you know, that story, it's got to be told, and, you know, the benefits of grass fed, ensuring that you source from sustainable sources and high welfare, all these sort of things. So I think, you know, Scotland's tremendous at doing that, but we're probably poor at maybe shouting about it. So one of our things is really the story, and you know, the sales and marketing side of it. On the butchery side, we decided not to go into the butchery. It's something that I wanted to learn a lot more about before I took that step, and I'm not convinced it's the right fit. So I'm delighted we didn't rush in and say, right, we need a butchery. We've been working with a couple of butchers, which gives us the flexibility. We're free of those fixed costs. Yes, okay, we have to pay a bit more than maybe we could do it ourselves, but we have that freedom. We can have a quiet spell, or we can go through. Unfortunately, the downside, I suppose, with COVID, we didn't see the surge in demand coming, and we didn't have the infrastructure in place to deliver a surge in demand. So we did have to just sort of tickle on, but we were selling, you know, I don't know, the beef just was getting snapped up as fast as we could, you know, get it in the packets, which was great. And it, you know, it's been the same across the country, I think, with anybody doing their own produce. So that's been fantastic. The downside of maybe at Christmas time, we have to take a bit of a backward seat because our contractors are busy with their own business. So we don't cash in quite so much at then, but it works away steadily, and it's growing slowly. And yeah, we really enjoy doing it. So yeah, we've recently
Hey, sorry, can I just, I don't know, your slides aren't moving on. It's just in case.
They're not.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you want to.
What's happened here? They're working on my screen. Oh, apologies, guys.
I don't know if you want to just make it full screen. That's better. That's it.
Is it? Hang on. It was.
Or whether you press the
Resume slideshow.
See the bit down the bottom where it'll make it a full, that one.
This one.
Yeah.
It's on my. No.
Yeah, that is moving them on now. So I just thought you'd gone to such an effort with your slides. I didn't want you to get the end of it. And
whereabouts? Sorry, what one can you see?
Sauckland Agribusiness.
All right, sorry, I moved on. Native and Wild.
That's great.
Are you getting the full screen though?
We're not getting this full screen. If you go to slideshow from beginning, or
hang on, resume slideshow. Why is it? Sorry,
we can't see the slides now though, so that's all right.
I just hope that would have appeared. Because I've got two monitors here. And the one on my right is showing the slideshow. So I'm wondering why it's. We
can see the slide now. We can see the slides now.
You're sharing the wrong monitor. If you go back to share screen and choose the other monitor.
Ah, there we go. Me trying to be high tech, having two monitors, backfired. Right. We'll just stick with.
Yeah, that's fine. We can see now.
We'll keep moving.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're right. I'm glad. It would have been pretty dull sitting on the same slide. Dull enough listening to me drone on. Okay. So
talk's great though. Talk's fantastic.
Thank you. I'll try and get back on track. So yeah, I was just finishing off a wee bit about the native and wild meat boxes. And again, this is something we're probably at the point. Yeah, we're supplying our local pub with steaks, and the feedback's been tremendous. Selling wholesale isn't something we want to do. The margins aren't exciting enough, but it's the local pub. It's the Juniper Lee. If anyone's ever in the area, just along the road, steaks are tremendous, and yeah, they're really keen to support us. And likewise, they have a wee holiday, or they have an Airbnb in a hotel, and they have a cabin as well. So you know, we kind of support each other, and if somebody's full and they've got a room, we can send people along there, and likewise. So it's a win-win. The on-farm dining is something we've just sort of, well, I'm very keen to get into now. As I mentioned, we're quite busy on the farm side. So up until yesterday, I was probably doing far too much farming and not allowing myself enough time to look at the other opportunities. So since taking somebody else on the livestock side, which is hopefully going to work out and enable me a bit more time to do some more management and planning for the future. So yeah, the on-farm dining, we've had some food trucks come to the larder, which I'll talk about the larder maybe in a second, where we had people popping in for takeaway, and yeah, it worked really well. It helps bring customers to the larder, gets the word out. but at the same time, it's creating that community buzz. It's a bit difficult in COVID, obviously, because you can have to move people on, but we're hoping now that things are opening up, then there'll be less pressure, and we can let people loiter a bit longer. And we've allocated a bit of the yard where we're going to make a courtyard with tables and chairs, and people can kind of come and sit and eat, and also just enjoy being on the farm. The next level of that would be to have a kind of farm tour built in with a dining experience, which is something that would look to make quite exclusive, all pre-booked and prepaid, and look at transport links from Edinburgh direct out to the farm and back. So there's a lot of work and research to go into that and how we do it, but that's something I think could be a real. It's certainly been popular from when you talk to people about it and try and get some feedback on what they would like to see and do. That seems to be one of the very popular. Okay, so the larder is my wife's idea, Ailey, who still works part-time as a nurse, a community and practice nurse in Edinburgh. We have 2 young kids, Matilda and Innes, and Ailey is really keen to be more involved in the farm and working from home, so we have that flexibility of the childcare. And I suppose it's along with the dining experience, it's the connection of food to the farm that we're really passionate about, and we feel like this is the kind of the most the best fit for us as far as having a farm shop. The larder is set up using vending machines, which I'm sure some of you have heard and read about or seen before or used before, and it means we don't have to be in the shop. It's all done through a touch screen menu, and you can obviously browse from looking at the lockers, and then you can also browse on the menu, and then you can pick what you want. It goes into a digital shopping basket. You make your payment, and which is contactless, or it can be it's all contactless actually, and your lockers ping open and you can take your goods. At the same time, I was selling our own beef and lamb through the larder. We also supply, the majority of our produce is from other local farmers and handcrafted producers. It's all about supporting local ideally, but yeah, Scottish and British, but mainly Scottish and local where possible, and seasonal. So we can chop and change what we supply. It's only just opened in March, so it's been a couple of months of just figuring out how to run it, how best to stock it, getting the teething issues out the way, and then we've since installed a coffee machine, and we're now looking at a milk dispenser and a freezer unit. We also have some honesty box items which Ailey adds from time to time, which don't go in the lockers. For example, the farm eggs people can collect. And there's all sorts of we've done some pop-up shops with some other crafts people that come up and have a wee pop-up shop on a Sunday or a Saturday. Just again, it's all about sharing our presence and trying to grow our, it's been growing very organically at the moment. We haven't paid for any marketing or social media, but that's something we're now looking at and would think we're ready to sort of try and push on and make it a bit busier. We could cope with a bit of a surge in demand, because the downside of the locker system is you do have to restock. If you have a really busy Sunday, for example, we might be restocking 3 or 4 times throughout the day, whereas during the week it's pretty good that you can stock it in the morning and then check it at night, but it's generally just once a day or twice a day at most on the quieter weekdays. So yeah, that is in a nutshell roughly what we're up to. For us, the Go Rural and the Monitor Farm is, having that WhatsApp group. I know we don't always contribute a lot, but we do read through and try and keep up, and it's fantastic to see when shared experiences, the support that's there from others. People are always willing to help. They've always got an answer. There's always somebody who's maybe tried something. You can't put a price on that. You know, it gives you inspiration as well. Caroline has been, you know, a tremendous support, as great to see from the other speakers too. But I think, you know, we're really keen to become more involved and push on with the agritourism. I think, you know, we've been very busy with the farming side. I hope now that we can see find a bit more time to grow the business on both the larder, the farm tours and the experiences, and, you know, and just really say, make that connection, bring that community connection back, and connect people with food and understand the work and that goes into producing, you know, quality produce on farm, and you know, some of the craft producers, what they're up to, and the sustainability and that story of ensuring that we manage the landscape and the environment for the benefit of everybody, not just for, you know, for ourselves. Yeah, I really do think that we want to create that complete journey from farm to fork, and yeah, the community that we've got both here in Pathhead, it's been really supportive of the larder, but also, you know, we've actually got a tennis court which we've recently refurbished on the farm, and we're now doing tennis lessons for the school kids during the holidays. We bring in a coach, and again, it's great because the mums and dads come down and they can use the larder. It's a bit of a community hangout, is well, that's the dream. And just, yeah, we're just trying to really help kids understand more about what goes on farm. And we're happy to spend time with people, which is, I think, really important. And yeah, we get a lot of satisfaction out of that. So yeah, just, yeah, I think, you know, the support that the agritourism group bring is like no other. Giving us that voice and that links to other people, both government and other people around Scotland, and where you can, you know, I didn't know that existed, and you can get out there and you can get inspiration from those people. That's what it's all about. And yeah, we're just delighted to be a part of it, and thank you very much again, Caroline, for asking us on today, and well done to the other speakers. I think I got a lot out of those talks too. Okay, I think that's me.
Thanks, Pete. So I'm now, don't know if you can hear me, but I'm now joining through 4G on my phone. So yeah, struggling with internet today, so apologies. But thanks, Pete. That's really another inspiring business, and what you're doing is just fantastic. I'm going to hand over to Jo now, who's going to chair 10 minutes of questions. So please have your questions ready for Jo, Jenny and Pete, and then I'm going to introduce Lorna Reid from Visit Scotland, and we'll finish up at 3:30. I do apologise again about the internet problems that I've had, but I'll listen in.
Okay, Pete, do you want to stop sharing your screen?
You can tell I'm usually quite good at this. It's actually quite frustrating that I've
at the
completely
top,
blown
it should
it.
say stop sharing, I think.
Where is that button? Ah.
At the top of your screen, I think it should say stop sharing.
No. Oh, there we go. You've hidden. Right, there we go.
There we go.
Well done, Jo.
Oh, sorry, the dog's decided to pay a visit. Okay, yeah, it's actually really interesting for me too, because although we're in contact with each other, it's really good to listen to all the stories from both Jenny and Pete, and I've joined in with a few other of the regional events, and everyone's got an inspiring story to tell. But if anyone has any questions for either of us, we'd be happy to answer them. I think Fiona had one actually, Pete, about your vending machines. Do they have refrigeration and frozen?
Yeah, lockers. We have refrigerated lockers and we have ambient lockers. You can't, unfortunately, get frozen ones. I know people who have literally put an ambient one inside a freezer. We haven't gone to that extreme yet, but it's probably something that's coming. I don't know why they haven't got the frozen ones. We probably, on hindsight, would have had more chilled lockers than ambient, but as it is, we have more ambient than chilled. And also the size of the lockers, we probably would have got more smaller ones, because you find obviously the more items you have, the less often you have to restock it. And while we picked some big lockers, thinking that they're pretty big, and like even a 25 kilo bag of spuds, it's big enough. So we actually we put like veg boxes and stuff in them, which is fine. But I think we would have probably got a better return on our investment if we'd put, say, less of those in and more small lockers.
Lindsay is asking, now Lindsay, I don't know if you want to come on and ask this question or whether you want me to ask it for you. But she's asking, did you test demand, Pete, for the meat boxes with pre-orders in advance before launching?
We did, yeah. I think when we started talking about it on social media, and we got a lot of interest. The first few cattle were easy sold. I mean, once you've got all your friends and things, they'll want to buy a bit anyway. These are initially it's easy peasy. It's just whether you're going to get repeat customer and start to grow. That's the challenging part. So I don't think the first one felt that risky. It was more probably spending the money on the website and just whether we were going to I was at one point I was close to buying a butchery, but I decided that, we were just quite happy with everything else I had to do. I didn't want to be a total jack of all trades. So it's built up slowly, but I can understand there's a little bit of concern when you take all that beef home that you're going to find the homes for all. But I think for us, it was all about, the key thing was not just letting somebody buy all the steak, because that's easy. We packaged it in a box that included some steak, but also you had to take mince and some of the lesser cuts, so that the whole idea is carcass balance. You have to get rid of the whole carcass, and you can't let people cherry pick the steaks.
Brilliant, thank you. Phil has a question.
Thank you. First of all, that was fantastic talk by all three of you, and really extremely interesting. I've got a question for all three of you. How the hell do you fit all this in? Are you superheroes? What do you wear your underpants outside your trousers? What's going on here? There must be some explanation.
I have to say, Phil, I'm probably the wrong person to ask it. I'm putting in 2 kitchens and trying to run a takeaway trailer and get my inside reopened at the moment. I've got no idea how I find the time in the day. I think for me, I like to write a lot of lists. So I get organised, having recently done the rural leadership project that I can thoroughly recommend as well if it comes around again. I learned quite a lot about myself and about how I operate and how I work, and I'm now trying to use those skills and that knowledge in order to input that into the business. I'm a driver forward. I take an idea on and I run with it. But for me, it's about organization. But I think really what does help is having that group support behind us. I asked a question yesterday about distancing of seating within the cafe. It was answered within minutes. And then those answers kept coming in, and then it sparked another conversation. And I think that's why I mentioned the value of that support earlier, because I think that is what can help drive you on and then fit more things in, because you've got an answer straight away rather than having to wait for it or think, well, where on earth can I get that answer from? So that would be my answer. Jenny?
We're actually very aware that we're all doing too much at the moment, and we have always been as a sort of family that we do everything. So it's everything from organizing the laundry, we do cleaning on Fridays, we mow the lawns, and it's just, it is too much. And I think what we're going to do, organising at the moment, is what Caroline did for Joe as part of the Monitor Farming programme, is to look at your business structure and say, I think, Joe, at one point you were baking all the cakes and Caroline just said, don't do that. You know, it's not a good use of your time, and that you have to have time to sit back and look at your business. And if you're doing all the jobs, then you can't possibly do that. And I do feel a little bit at the moment like we're doing all the jobs, and we've actually got Caroline booked in to come and have a look at the business. And I think with farming businesses, it can be really difficult because it is a family business, and it, with all the succession issues and all that, which Caroline covered in the Monitor Farming, you know, you can feel like you're stepping on toes at times and that sort of thing. And it's really useful to have someone like Caroline that comes in from the outside and can look at it with fresh eyes, basically. So we're looking forward very much to Caroline coming to sort us all out and tell us what on earth we're doing wrong, and when we should get in help. Sorry, Pete, next.
I don't think you'll be saying that after being. Sorry, Pete.
No, I'm glad to hear that you're in the same boat, Jenny. Yeah, we're certainly not. I'm not doing everything. I mean, we've got a great team here. I think a couple of years ago, I took on Owen, who's, rather than just being a shepherd, he's a flock manager. He's helped take a bit of responsibility off on that side. I have an apprentice, Jamie, who, yeah, takes a bit of time just in getting him set, but he's very good once he gets away. You can set him to task. I've got great support from my parents. Obviously, Ailey and I are both working together, which has been a journey in itself, but a really enjoyable one. I think it's brought us, you know, closer together, and we enjoy that side of it. But yeah, we agree that it's not sustainable the way it has been. So we have just taken on somebody else, and we're really keen to just sort of really, yeah, cut out the menial tasks that I can pay somebody else. Not sounding, you know, I hate that. I never like asking somebody to do something I wouldn't do myself, but there comes a point when you do just have to, you know, focus on delegating and just, you know, give yourself a chance to manage from the front rather than constantly having to do the you know, the work at the coalface. So yeah, I'm having to really, that's a real area of weakness at the moment, is just being able to delegate more and step back and just, you know, yeah, just put faith in others to do their bit and just keep the team moving, really.
It can be hard, can't it, to lose that control, but I did that by involving a manager, and obviously now I've got my chefs, and so I am very much sitting looking at the overall business, which is a good place to sit, definitely, rather than having my head in an oven making lots of bacon rolls, which was happening at one point. There was a question in the chat box that Caroline has answered, and actually it's quite a good one for anyone else that's possibly thinking about joining the sector, but Caroline has put a really full response in there, and her email address is there for anyone that would like to join up upon hearing us chat today. Jenny?
One final, I just wanted to ask you, Joe, if you would have done the trailer without the COVID pandemic, bearing in mind it's been super successful and you would now carry on with that and maybe extend that idea. Would you have done it without being forced into it?
No, we had plans to do it anyway. It's just that we delayed those, but COVID brought them forward very, very quickly. But equally, we probably wouldn't have done it as quickly if we hadn't had that support behind us, in terms of the group, and just that whole positivity that we're a growing sector, and how because of that it just gives you the confidence to keep going, and that's what we did. We didn't sit on our hands and say, well, that's it. We just kept going. Phil has also asked, how do you become a monitor farmer? I don't know if Caroline have you answered that, Caroline?
Yeah, so I didn't quite answer the right question. So there's two things. You're very welcome. Anyone's very welcome to attend any of the Monitor Farm meetings. There's a meeting online every month. I can send you the dates. I can email to everybody that attended today with the dates for 2021. This particular Monitor Farm programme finishes in March 2022. So we've got Kay Wilson on here as well today, who's at Luss, who's the West Central Monitor Farmer, and then Joe and Stuart are the East Central ones. But you can attend any of those meetings. We are hoping to have some in-person meetings as well, and I'll give you the schedule for those as well, but that's subject obviously to what happens with the dreaded COVID. But yeah, you'd be very welcome to attend any of those meetings, and as I say, we do hope to have some in-person meetings too. Okay, thanks Joe for chairing the Q&A. I'm sorry I'm like the disappearing and appearing host with my broadband. I will be right on the phone to my MSP, newly elected MSP after this. So I've just got 5 or 6 minutes left. I did want to introduce Lorna Reid to you. Lorna is working for Visit Scotland, but we're very fortunate that at the start of the pandemic that Visit Scotland gave us Lorna, not full-time, but gave us Lorna a day a week to be our kind of main contact into Visit Scotland. And Lorna will describe herself as a sort of sheepdog. She sort of rounds us up and keeps us right, and she opens lots of doors for us. And that's what Lorna's great at doing. She can get us in front of the PR team at Visit Scotland. Our sector's had amazing press coverage because of their support, working with the travel trade, and there's a growth tracker that Visit Scotland and Scottish Agritourism are working on together. So I'd just like to hand you over to Lorna for a few minutes for her kind of perspective on the sector and to tell you a bit about herself.
Hi everybody, I'm actually hoping that I don't have a cow in the background that drowns me out. So I am actually talking from a real farm, and I've had the absolute privilege of being part of and working with supporting this group over the last year, from one lambing season to the next. And really, I can't get over, I think there's something about a farming background that you've got can-do attitude. I think the three speakers there have all said about doing hands-on, and Pete, you know, not wanting anybody else to do a job that you can do yourself. I think that's probably an ethos that everybody that certainly has. My job, quite simply, is to make sure that Visit Scotland on a national and international level share your stories and help support, you know, the whole agritourism movement. Actually, we're seeing trends coming through from, you know, post-COVID that very much aligned to the product that you've got. I mean, we've got wellness, escapes, getting back to nature, slow touring, which means sort of getting a bit off the beaten track and making sure that you're actually appreciating your surrounding. Absolutely at the heart of everything we do, making sure that we're supporting local produce, and of course, you know, short breaks, stays, and day visits for a farm experience. As Caroline said, food provenance is very much at the core of absolutely everything that that we want to try and sell about Scotland's food and drink as well. We've got teams across Visit Scotland, and my colleague Helene Sinclair is actually on this call today. So we actually have, aside from our PR support and telling the story sides, we also have industry relationship managers. We've actually got 3 covering all the Lothians. We've got Helene, who looks after East Lothian, Alistair McLaughlin, who looks after, if I'm getting it right, Mid Lothian, and James Sinclair, who looks after West Lothian. So if you are needing any help for your business or looking for a Visit Scotland listing, which I will add is free, we've got a team on the ground that would be happy to help. We also do things like digital reviews. As Caroline says, we're working together to look at us as a support webinar series to help if anybody's interested in the travel trade. And travel trade means like group visits, which can be both national and international visitors. We're working beavering away on the agritourism survey tracker, which is scheduled to be end of May, which made sure it doesn't coincide with any rural payment paperwork that had to be done. What else can I say? We will always make sure that we're trying to share your stories on social media as well. So we'd encourage everybody to post on social media, and certainly use the hashtags for responsible tourism as well. Caroline, can I mention that we're hopefully working with QMS on a partnership to help extend reach on the story of beef, lamb and specialty pork. So we're looking forward to that coming up, and making sure that we're aligning our content with Caroline throughout the season, so that we've got something happening on the farm to reflect, for visitors to reflect all year round. Sorry, a very whistle-top tour there, Caroline, but I hope that gives a flavour of what we're here to do to help with.
Oh, thanks so much, Lorna. And yeah, thanks so much to everybody for joining today. I'm sorry I didn't quite finish. I had 2 or 3 more slides. I will send my slides out to you. We will also, we've been recording today's inspiring speakers. So we will have those clips up on the Scottish Agritourism YouTube channel. We also have a weekly e-newsletter that goes out that anyone can subscribe to. So I will send you the link for that as well. That goes out every Friday. We are hoping, as well as the Monitor Farm meetings, to have some regional farm walks and socially distanced barbecues this summer. Again, we'll have dates soon, and we'll just kind of have to go with the flow with what's happening COVID-wise, but we do hope to actually see each other in person soon. We're planning our annual conference, which will take place in November. And again, we're planning a hybrid event, which will be streamed at home. It'll be a 2-day event. The first day will showcase inspiring people and innovative practices from the Monitor Farm programme. And the second day, we will have some great kind of insights from the Visit Scotland research into agritourism, plus some benchmarking against other European countries of how Scotland is performing. So if you do want to get involved and join Scottish Agritourism, you don't have to be an agritourism business. You can join as a trade supplier, as a professional, and we also have associate membership if you are a rural business, such as a cafe, restaurant, visitor attraction, and you're working closely with an agritourism business. So we'd be delighted to have you as part of our network. I hope you can see that we're a friendly and vibrant, close-knit community, and it is a lot of fun as well. Even though we're virtual, we still managed to have some good laughs on WhatsApp, as well as sharing some good information. So I'll just stop there. We're just 1 minute over. Thank you again very much to our speakers today, to Joe, to Jenny and to Pete. I know how busy you all are, so thanks for preparing your slides and coming along today. And thank you again to everybody who's joined us, to Helene from Visit Scotland and to Lorna too. And enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.